Good morning, all. If I could get everybody's attention, we'll get the morning kicked off here. My name is Ira Johnson. I'm the president of the board of directors for Colorado Festivals and Events Association. And more than anything, I want to appreciate you all being here today, both the crowd I have in front of me and then those that are attending virtually. Obviously, 2020 has been an unprecedented year in the events industry. We're very excited to actually have a 2020 conference at all. Obviously, this is rescheduled, but we were very ambitious in trying to make this happen, knowing that the events industry needs to have some collaboration, needs to have an opportunity to have a conversation and learn what's happened in the last 10 months and how we're making this industry stronger, better, and what people are doing to make it more successful in what they've done so far in those capacities. So with that, it is my pleasure to introduce Mark McGoffin. Mark is with McGoffin Marketing. He started his career in television in Louisiana. In 1980, he moved to Colorado. So he has seen the ups and downs of Colorado that we've all seen. He then started McGoffin Marketing to focus on sponsorships and events and media and increasing event capacity in that space. He's been doing that for a while and been very successful. So with that, I will turn it over to Mark.
Hello. Heart be still, we can get it now. So let's start this all over again. Hello, everybody. Now that I already have the mic drop, so I can't do that later in my presentation, so we'll have to wait on that. Hello, everybody who's virtual. It's very interesting talking with people out there that we can't see. Of course, thank you guys for everybody that's here. We very much appreciate it. And I've basically been brought in to talk a little bit about what's going on with the marketing for the pandemic year of this year, some of the things I'll be able to show you and explain to you what I have done with other events. I'll be able to also, give you a little bit of insight of the way that I look at how I create a marketing plan, as well as working with the board members and basically getting a good idea of how much we can spend, if we can even spend anything. Ways to also do it without spending much money. So let's just get started. Well, as we know, when you look at all of the events out there, there are so many things happening, and it can be so much fun. And they're so different. Everyone and every event is different. But the thing you're going to run into in 2021 is that it's going to be a little harder to get the word out and to get people motivated because they had a year off. So that's one thing that you need to consider. You really have to focus in on what your plans are in 2021 and get the word out. You need to do everything from the grassroots program to the media to public service announcements to public relations, everything. It's going to have to be a serious, culminated effort in order for you to really get a footprint back into your community. Hello. There we go. I love events. That's one reason why I started my company, was to be able to help people market their events, but also I sell sponsorships. But the thing about events, we all know this, no event is the same. All markets are definitely unique. You could be in a major market, a big market, you could be in a smaller market. Those are things that you really have to work on when it comes to making sure that your marketing plan works the way that you wish it to work. And everything is exclusive to you. As an event planner, you know the type of people you're looking at reaching. You know your community, and your community, if you've done a good job, should know you. If you're a new person getting into the event industry, there are a couple aspects that I look at doing in order to really be prepared and ready to go. Some of this might be elementary to people who have been in the event business for a long period of time, but when it comes to trying to help out from the base up, These are key aspects that we need to have in our pocket before you can even create a marketing plan. The event base, that's one side. We're going to talk about pandemic guidelines. We're going to talk about the types of events, budgeting, and then also strategies for the event strategy. Then we can move into the activation for the marketing plan. How are we going to do this? Are we going to do television? Are we going to do social? Are we going to do community outreach? Those are things we will talk about today. And I'll also show you some examples of what I've done in the past for some of the events that I've worked with that can give you a good idea of how you can expand your presence with your media partners as well as in the market itself. These little push buttons are kind of interesting, you know. First thing we have to do is we have to know where we are when it comes to the pandemic. As we know right now, it's spiking. So we've been turned back in certain areas to more of a stay at home. Some of the counties had been all the way up to the protect our neighbors, which is nice. They opened it up. You were able to have more people at events. You were able to have more people at your restaurant. You were able to do so many more things. But now what's happening, and this was kind of predicted, and we have to watch this. This was predicted that we're going to have the second coming, I guess you would say, in the fall, mainly because people are starting to be inside more often. And we're seeing that not only in the United States, but we're also seeing that across the world. So what we have to do is we have to watch it when we're getting ready to plan for next year. How do we know where we're going to be? We really don't. Is there going to be a vaccine? We don't know. Is it going to be effective? Is your community going to be able to get there and have enough people vaccinated? Do you know what the regulations are when it comes to your open space? Do you know what you have to do when it comes to, I see on the tables out here, we have the hand sanitizer on every table. We have people in masks. That's what we have to do right now. But how can we also expand our event to where we can bring in enough people to have enough dollars to market that event, as well as make it profitable? What I have here for you guys is basically a couple websites for you to look at, which will help you figure out what the guidelines are. One of my favorite ones is I don't like any of them, to tell you the truth, because I don't call it a pandemic, I call it a paindemic, because it's causing a lot of pain for a lot of people. But the resource webpage really lists a number of different things for you to look at. So if you are planning your event, get familiar with some of the guidelines, because those are some of the things you're going to have to look at for next year. And as a marketer, those are real important too, because with your messaging, you're also going to have to talk about safety. You're going to have to talk about how everyone will really enjoy the event, how they can move into, I don't want to say we have to have long lines and things like that and to pace six feet apart, but how they can really enjoy the event and how you're going to make it very beneficial for them. So let's move on from the pandemic and let's move into the event type. Actually, this is kind of not the boring part, but this is basically housekeeping. There are two different types of events that we're looking at. And actually, what we are doing right now is a combination of both. We have our on-site presence, and then we have our virtual presence. But one thing to consider when you're looking at your event for next year, and as well as for marketing, once again, everything I look back at is if we have attendance, we're able to sell sponsorships, we're able to bring revenue, therefore I have more dollars to spend on a marketing end. But we have to look at what's going to happen later on. Is your county going to get a variance to where you can have more people? How do you have to basically stagger? Do you stagger? Do you limit? If you have a ticketed event, does that have to be a separate instance from all these? That's some of the event type aspects that you're going to have to consider, as well as as a marketer, we got to look at signage, we got to look at how we're going to present it to the consumer, we have to look at all of those different avenues. So everything that we're looking at right now ties together. And I think that's something that's real important. A lot of times we have our board over here is planning, we're going to spend this much money, life's going to be great, and so on. Then the marketer comes in and says, well, what about this, 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 and this? And we didn't think about that. So these are some of the aspects to consider. Can you convert and can you do virtual? Yeah, of course. We're doing it right now. I think you're doing join.me, if I remember correctly. There are virtual aspects that you can look at if you are not necessarily an on-site type event, but if you're like your event's to sell jewelry or to sell art or anything such as that, you can convert that into also a virtual event. One of my accounts basically was an on-site event that happened every August. What happened? The pandemic. What he did was he created an online opportunity for all of his artists to be able to sell art over a specific 3-day period of time. It still raised money for a charity, and they also were able to create sales for these artists who unfortunately couldn't go to events to sell their product. So he helped him on the event side. He kept everyone knowing that the event is still available, but he was also able to get it online and virtual. So he saved part of it, not to the major extent that he had, but that's something that you might want to consider next year too. If we're getting into the year and your event is in February and you're mostly a sales-based type of event, consider both ways. You could have limited on-site, but also you could feature them, a limited on-site and also feature them virtually. Budget. Here we go. I like this because you have the dollars. But before you get the dollars, you got to figure out your expenses. Once again, this could be elementary to some, but for all the individuals who are new to this is something you really need to consider. Looking at your venue. What does it include? Is it on-site? Is it virtual? For a venue, do you need fencing? Do you need tables, chairs? All of those things you have to sit down and really figure out and put a price point on all of that to give them an idea of how much it's going to cost. Staffing, is it all volunteer? Do you have paid staff? Food and beverage. Food and beverage is interesting because there are ways that you can have revenue with your food and beverage as well as take advantage of having them on site. Signage, security. I'm walking through these kind of quickly because I want to get into the marketing because that's the fun part. Insurance, entertainment. If you're doing fireworks, transportation. One category that I find that a lot of events that I work with forget about is miscellaneous. Miscellaneous, my Lord, if you think about it, there are always times that things come up that you're not expecting. Oh my goodness, we have entertainment. I forgot, I need a green room. Where are they going to get changed? I have to figure that out. Oh, they need food and beverage. Okay. Oh, we're expanding a little more. I need more fencing. Or I need more tables. I need more chairs. It's going to cost me more here and here. Oh, always have a miscellaneous column, please. That is something that has saved me many a times when it comes to any of the marketing plans that I do and when it comes to the events that I work with. Now the fun part, where the dollars come back in. A typical event revenue, there are multiple ways that you can generate revenue. One, it could be the gate sales. Are you going to do a pre-sale? Are you going to do ticket packages? You have your walk-up. You have your attractions, your food, your beverage. You know, if you're going to do food trucks, are you getting a percentage of their sales? Are you getting a percentage of the beverage sales? How are you working all of this? Do you have all of that in place to where you can get an estimate? Okay, we had X amount of people last year. We sold X amount of beer or whatever, beverage. We earned X amount. If our attendance is going to go down some, you need to adjust for that. You got to remember to make sure you keep everything as apples to apples as you possibly can. Do you have ticketed events? That's revenue generating. I'm going to go a little more into sponsorship than just the typical event because I want to talk a little bit about that as well. Because sponsorship really also ties into marketing. If you are bringing sponsors in like a title or an auto or presenting or food, beverage, so on and so forth, you're going to have a nice package put together these, especially for the higher end packages. How are they going to be included in your marketing? Are they going to be on your website? Are they going to be in all of your print, all of your television, all your radio, all of everything that's going out? How are you going to create these packages? Booths and exhibits. I mean, booth is fairly simple. How are you going to price it? Last year, you might have had 20,000 people at your event. This year, you're figuring you're going to have 10. Do you cut your booth price in half? I don't think so. I think what you need to do is you need to evaluate all the people who have participated or are participating and really come up with a solid number for you to be able to utilize. One thing too, when it comes to revenue, you have to remember, last year, if you had an event and you had sponsors already paid, did you transfer those dollars to 2021? If you did, you don't have additional revenue coming in. I hope you put that in the bank and saved it, because you're going to need a lot of these dollars to help, once again, offset the marketing as well as the additional expenses. These sponsors who have moved from one year to the other year are still expecting to be in all the print. They're still expecting to have all those gross impressions. They're still expecting all of that, even though it moved, but you have to make sure that you have the dollars available to be able to handle what is needed for those sponsors. Also, one thing that I would talk about on sponsorship too, I have already reached out to all the sponsors or the people who are the sponsors who were interested who didn't sign up because we were finalizing them in March and all of a sudden the pandemic came in. Reach out, guys. Reach out right now to the sponsors you had last year. Reach out to the ones that you're considering. Find out, just basically, get an idea of what they're thinking. I found that the majority of the sponsors that I've talked to are excited about coming back. They're excited about still participating. The ones who hadn't signed but were planning to sign, I asked them about budget. What type of budget are you looking for? Seeing that they didn't have it last year, are they going to move those dollars into this year? Or this year, I guess it should be, 2020 to 2021. Are they moving those dollars into 21 to where now they have more to spend? And the answer to that is basically not at all. They're thinking of being very consistent with what they did previously. They reallocated those funds this year because they weren't using them for events. So you need to definitely find out what is happening with these guys. Yes, sir.
Can you give us some specific examples of sponsors? And what I would say in the city that I work for, most people are saying, we don't know what you're doing next year. We don't, and I was talking to Ira on the way in. We're being asked to plan, what if you can do your normal festival? What if you can do your festival for 1,500 people? And what if you can do your festival for, only 100 people or 185 people,
right,
or whatever. So from a sponsor perspective, I don't feel like I can sell the sponsor, hey, we might do a full festival, we might do 1,500, we might do 150.
Right.
So being that you're selling sponsorship, can you give some examples of how you're communicating with your sponsors in this ebb and flow?
Okay. The question was, right now, in all reality, we don't know what to expect for next year. Is it going to be 1,500 people? Is it going to be 150 people? Is it going to be 20,000? And you know what? In talking with the sponsors, I've told them that. And what right now, the majority of the sponsors are saying, no, I'm not placing, I'm not buying, I'm not doing anything right now. I'm going to wait until January. I have one that backs us up to March, and this is for one of my accounts who is a July event. They're not really looking at that, but what we have to do right now is we have to get them thinking about it to get it into their annual plan. I am not going out there to sell them a package right now because no one knows. And if I would, or if you would, and say, yeah, you got to buy it now, you're going to lose the sale. You don't want to go in and basically you want to act as a partner. We'll put it that way. I'm here for you. I want to see how we can work together. What is your timeline? When are you planning on it? Have you started to work on your budgets? When do you think some decisions might be made on that budget, and when can we get back and talk about what we're planning on doing? And then work at that direction. That is basically the direction that I've had, because when I called one client, they basically said, Mark, I'm not buying anything right now. I'm not trying to sell you anything right now. And you know what? They appreciate that, because they get hit up so many times that if you walk in and just say, this is what we're planning on doing. We anticipate we're going to have X attendance. We have contingency plans of how we can keep the attendance pretty high for us, whether it comes down to we stagger our entrances, whether it comes down to we have separate, and I talked about it a little earlier, separate entrances for attractions, how we can still keep the event at a basic same size as where we were. Some of them won't be. And you just have to adjust to that. Now, thing you have to look at too is let's look at the timing of your event. And I'm getting back into your question. If you have an event that you're planning on doing in February, that's probably an indoor event, and that's going to be kind of spooky because they're also calling for a third time where we might get hit with the pandemic again. A lot, I have to tell you, depends on the masks, a lot, basically what science is saying. I'm not going to get political on it, but the point is we all have to do our part for us to get rid of this thing. Also, we need to get the vaccine in, and we just need to really work hard to make sure that we do what we need to do in order to get ourselves together. Because let me tell you, people I've spoken with who went to events last year or the year before, they are wanting to go back. I mean, it's like, come on. Think about the FFAs or the 4-H clubs or any of these clubs who were out there, and this was a mainstay for them, getting them ready for at least, for the state event as well. Think about that. How many families have been impacted? And you have an opportunity now of bringing these people back together. But you got to go back and make sure that you fit the guidelines. That is something I think is real important for all of those families as well as for your sponsors, and that's safety. If they feel that you're going to have a good event, you're going to have multiple people, I don't think your sponsors are going to really care if 3 years ago or 2 years ago you had 28,000 people and this time you're going to have 20. I don't think they care. I think what they're looking at is they want to get out, so we need to help them get out. Getting back to revenue, we're looking, did that answer your question? I'm sorry. Okay, cool. Also, when it comes to funding, does the county provide funding? Do you have donations? Are you a 501c3? Are you able to get things taken care of that way? So now what we do is we mix this all together, and then we come up with a basic idea of whether or not you have enough revenue anticipated to come in than expenses. Are you going to break even? Are you going to get less? I always go conservative. Especially in these days, I look very conservative when it comes to the sponsorship levels, when it comes to the amount of dollars that will be brought in. That way I know that if, and this is me talking, that if we are if we beat it, I always like that, Go low, finish high. But that also guarantees that you have the revenue that you need for next year. Yes, sir.
So, I think I might know the answer to this, but when you talk about budget, and you're talking about all these unknowns, and you're talking about just kind of keeping your name in the hat for sponsors, how do you create multiple budgets? Because projection is really the difficult thing right now, right? So you
Correct.
can't project what environment you're going to be in. So if you look at typical event revenue, the pre-sales, the ticket packages, the walk-ups, how you're going to spread up, if it's staggered or whatever, all those things, even as you're selling it to a sponsor, is it going to be 25,000 people? They're all thinking, how many people am I going to get my name to?
Correct.
So to keep your name in the hat, what type of thing do you think you should put forward to I guess broadly, create a budget? Because you can't do anything real or tangible, right? So
Right.
It's really the reason that I'm here in a lot of things, just to figure out what everyone's thinking to be like. How do you prepare for either direction?
Right.
And how do you keep the idea of the event out there? How do you keep the people involved until we can make a decision? Because I think if you got to February and people were like, okay, we can do something, how prepared are we that Colorado Lottery's got money in the pot that you can get or whatever
Right.
from the sponsorship? We can make that happen and get a ready to go. So how do you project for those?
Okay.
For budget-wise?
Right. Well, the question was, how do you come up, project budgets, and do you have multiple budgets in line to where you get an idea of what's going on? The point of getting money from the Colorado Lottery or some other donor, how do you project on all of that? And to the answer to the question is yes. You definitely have to have multiple contingency plans, and especially in a marketing plan, because if you feel that you have your almost business as usual, and then you have, okay, we're going to be down 50%. You can have 2 or 3 different ones, but for me, on the impacting of a marketing plan, that changes everything. That changes everything, because now what you're looking, if you're saying I'm going to be at 50%, we're going to have to cut X, Y, and Z, and we're going to have to look at more of a social footprint. We're going to have to look at more of a grassroots program. We're going to have to look at a less expensive way for us to be able to get the word out. We're going to talk a little bit about some of that too. That's in here that we're going to get into. So, and we're going to have some fun ideas. And if you have ideas, throw them out, because that's the key thing for everything is when you get multiple people together, have like a little brainstorming session where everything's good, nothing's bad, and go off the wall. I mean, just be crazy of how you can get it out. And that will also help you save money when it comes to your marketing. But to answer your question, a couple of the events that I'm working with currently, we have two levels that we're working on. One is based on a staggered, and one is based as an all-in. And the all-in is we can get X amount of people, and that's it. The staggered is if we go three opportunities each day for 3 days, how many people can we bring in to where it will fit those, fit the criteria at the low end, what does that total up to, and then we move forward. So that's basically what some of the things that we're currently in the process of doing. Okay? Let's move on. Event planning and timing, right towards your question. In the timing, that's a very tough thing to discuss because we don't know what the timing is. However, you still, as the question was, how do we keep ourselves out there? You still need to let people know that you're here. When do you do an event announcement? That's a very good question, because if your event is in February and you have looked at all the guidelines and you've figured, okay, I can bring in 300 people. Last year I did 500 people. We have our spacing done. We're all good. Get it out there. Get it out to your database. Get it out to send press releases. Send all of those things out to let people know that it's happening. If you work with organizations, send it out to the organizations. Do a grassroots-based program, because you're not going to do anything on air media-wise at this point. But get that out. If you have a July event, you'll know more probably by February. So announce it then. And on the announcements, there are so many different things you announce with. One thing that I think was really cool, and it's going to be hard in some of the larger cities, but in some of the communities, if you remember the news back a while back, students were basically creating their own little parade and passing by their teachers' houses and waving and saying thank you. Do it in your community. Have your volunteers step up. Let's have create your own little parade. People are going to start talking. It could be a lot of fun. If you notice the National Western Stock Show, which is unfortunate it's not happening this year, think about how much press they got when you have Longhorns walking down the middle of the street. Do things like that. Other things you can do in order to announce that you're going to be there is you got posters and flyers. We'll talk about that as well. Do you have a database? Utilize your database. All of those things. If you don't have a database yet, we're going to talk a little bit about how you can get one. So we'll get that all put together. But think out of the box and have some fun with it. Also, the thing with the kickoff, that's when you can reach out to your sponsors again and say, hey, we've announced, we're excited, let's get together and get you guys on board. You need to start selling your sponsorships way in advance of your event to make sure that you get the dollars that you're looking for. You know, you could do a social media kickoff. What do you do with that? We'll talk a little bit about that as well. But Remember videos. You probably have videos of your events. You probably have pictures of your events. Let's have fun with it. Get people to know that your event's there and it's exciting. That's how we do it. And then at the end, basically 10 days before your event, do a countdown. People really aren't thinking that far out. I'm not thinking 3 months out that I'm going to go to whatever. I always work about a 10 to 15 day out. So if you do a countdown where you're reaching everybody and you're really doing a push 10 days out, it's only 10 days to our event, it's only 9 days to our event, that will get it peace of mind and help you drive a lot of traffic as well. Now that we've gone through that, let's get into the fun part. I mean, that's fun too, but let's talk marketing. One thing that you have to realize, guys, is that you were bombarded with ads every day. If you read this little comment, you don't think about it, but 6,000 to 10,000 ads a day is the average of people are being bombarded with. That's crazy. How do you get through the clutter? Fortunately for you, the people that you're basically marketing to are in your community, have been to your event, are familiar with you, and a lot of times they will open it up if they hear something from you. So you have an advantage over a lot of these ads that you see because you get hit by a banner. You know, you go online. Let's say you go online and you're searching for something. And then all of a sudden you have all of these banners coming up. Then after you get back online, you get retargeted by similar organizations or sales pitches or whatever of what it is you just looked for. Search vehicles are notorious for that. So it's crazy how many times you're impacted. When it comes to marketing, there are multiple questions that you have to have in order to make sure that your marketing is spot on. The first one is, who is your consumer? A lot of this is pretty standard, but really, who is your consumer? Are you going after the family? Are you going after teenagers? Are you going after older adults? Are you going after females, males? You need to sit down and really target that, because when you get into your media, that's how you can also target your media. And that's how you can also target the direction that you're headed when it comes to reaching the right people with a message that they're interested in. How do you reach them? We can sit down and talk about that. Is it going to be social? Is it going to be television? Is it going to be radio? Is it going to be print? Is it going to be direct mail? All of those aspects have to be looked at. We're going to look at that in a second. What'd you do in the past? I think a lot of times people really don't go back and say, they don't look at the results off of some of their media or off of some of their marketing. For instance, if you did an email, what was your open rate on the email? How many people opened that email? You don't know. We got to figure this out. Do you ask the question when people come to your event, how do they hear about you? A lot of times people don't. They just let them go in the door and you have no idea. Do you do surveys? A lot of people won't fill them out, but there are companies out there that will pay to be on site that will do a survey for them, but as well as you can add additional questions for your own survey to find out where these people came from and how they heard of it from you. They're heard of you. But you need to figure out what worked and what didn't. If you were on television and you're talking to people out there and they said, I didn't see you on TV. I heard you on the radio. Well, was your TV effective? Did you have the right message? Do you have media partners? Media partners are important. And the reason why I say media partners is because a lot of times people think, I have to buy commercials. Okay, buy commercials. Is that media partner, that the outlet that you're working with, are they working with you? Are they giving you some added value? Are they talking about, hey, I could have our weather guy out there, or hey, let's do a giveaway, or let's do an interview, or anything like that? Do you ask? We're going to talk a little more about that as well. Ask. That's the biggest thing, and come up with partners that fit you. Social platform, we all know about Facebook, we all know about the Twitters and the YouTubes and all of those, email, database, and so on. Do you have one set up? Set it up. And every time you run something, ask people to share. Okay, there we go. Mailing list. Do you have a mailing list? Check it out. Even if it's not the mailing list for your event, but let's say you're a county fair. Your county probably has a database. Talk with your county, talk with your city, talk with those guys and find out if you can utilize their database to get information out. That could help you. And then create your own. Community interaction, there you go. Talking with the organizations, everything from the Rotary clubs and so on. We'll talk a little more about that as well. But these are some of the key questions that, as a marketer, I try to look at to where I know I can hone in the information to the right people at the right time. So let's talk about media partners. Television. We all know about TV. Did you know I call broadcast TV terrestrial? What I mean by that is like your ABC, your CBS, your NBCs, your major affiliates. Like here in Denver, it's Channel 9, Channel 7. You can catch those guys by an antenna. But then you also have cable. If you look at that corner right there, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of different stations on cable. And then a new thing that just occurred is called streaming, to where people don't even have to go through their cable company. People can go online and they can go directly to one of the outlets that they want to go for, to watch. That's called OTT as well. They call it over the top. Don't ask me why they call it over the top, but that's what they call it. So let's talk a little bit about television, how television can benefit you. Once again, it comes down to partners. If you have a television station that you're working with, and let's say that television station, ask them if they have a lifestyle show. What do I mean by a lifestyle show? A lifestyle show is similar to where you get a 3 to 5 minute interview during a program on their air. For instance, Colorado and Company, that is on Channel 9. Channel 7 is Mile High Living. You got Channel 2 and Fox have Colorado's Best. See if you can get on there. Sometimes you have to pay for it, but if you're an advertiser, sometimes they will include that if you are working together, and let's say they are going to be your media partner, and they can say that they are part of this program and part of this event. That's real important because a lot of them want to get out into the community now. It's really expanded from just, I'm sitting in the studio. And if you notice that a lot of the stations, or basically all the stations now, go out and all the reporters are remote. They do weathercasting remote. They do news remote. They do all of these things. So these can be areas to where you can drive people and brand your account, brand your event, as well as get them out there and drive additional people and increase additional opportunities. News, it's very difficult to get into a newscast. However, if that station is a partner, and I'll use Channel 2, CW. They'll get their big weather beast out there and they'll do their weather report in the middle of their newscast. That's cool because all of a sudden you are reaching a whole broad-based opportunity. And we've done it with those guys before and they're hilarious because they literally will walk around and talk to people. They'll literally go and show some of the exhibits. They literally will be part of your event. It's fun. You've got to find the right station that can do that for you. PSAs are known as public service announcements. If you're a 501c3 or even an event that's community-based or county-based, send a public service announcement, which is to an extent your press release, to their PSA director. So you can get additional action through the stations. Some TV stations will do ticket giveaways. A lot won't. So don't get upset with the station if they're not going to do a ticket giveaway for you because a lot of TV stations don't. But as a partner, they could probably figure out a way to do it. They could do it in their lifestyle show. Get on their webpage and then personality involvement. So that's the thing about television. On television, you also can figure out what demographic they're reaching based on their programming. They can give you that information. So if you're looking for an 18 to 49-year-old You're looking for a little more of a male. You're looking for someone who lives down in Arapahoe and Douglas County. They can pull that information all together for you to give you an idea how they look. Because I have to tell you, some of the media outlets might be huge boomers, but they might be up north and your event's down south, so that's not really a major benefit for you. So here's a sample of a campaign that I did with Arapahoe County Fair. This is showing how we brought two TV stations together as a partner. KWGN and Fox are owned by the same people. So what we did is we took advantage of their ownership to be able to come do cross promotions on two stations. With this, there was a minimal investment based on some of the commercials as well as talent fees here or there. But in all reality, the amount of exposure that we received for that minimal investment was huge. Because some of these stations, and whether it be radio or TV, and we'll talk about that as well, are doing promotions now of what to do in your community. So if you find these stations that are doing that, hook into it, get on their sites, talk to them about it, become part of their property. If you look at what we're able to do here, we're able to do multiple 15-second commercials, and these are all TV spots. We also were tied in with their event, which was called Summer of Fun. And so we had cross promotions to where when they say a shared spot, we're with another event, but the other event was not in our area, it was in a different area. It was up in Larimer County, we were down in Arapahoe County, to give people an opportunity to have ideas of what to do. We got on their digital platform, we had Facebook, we did giveaways. We did giveaways on the Lifestyle Show, we did giveaways on their Facebook. They're helping you promote your event, and they can do it really well, and it's fairly inexpensive after you get through all the minutia of the TV spots. Don't advertise right now in October, it's crazy, just to let you know, with the political. At the bottom, what you can do is you can see, for a Lifestyle Show, what we did is we brought our goats out. I mean, it's fun. Make an event, make it to where it really shows who you are and what you are. We also had an event where we were doing a beer tastings. So we had a beer fest, so we had one of the beer masters come out and do another show. So we were able to really go after two different segments that we were pushing. And then also then you have your banner ads and those types of things as well. So you really have a good opportunity of expanding in media. Radio. Radio is a lot more flexible. You can really think of things out of the box in radio. How do you choose a radio station? Once again, it comes down to all of the things you did on your base of figuring out who you're going after, what your budget is, where they are, what you did last time, what stations you used, what stations you didn't, are they media partners or not? When it comes to radio, radio is basically known as a reach and frequency medium. You pick a format which reaches your specific demographic, and then what you need to do is radio needs frequency. What I mean by frequency is your spot needs to be heard a lot on radio for people to act. Different types of formats to consider. You've got country, you've got news, you've got talk, you've got nostalgia, you've got oldies, you have all of these different formats. So you need to figure out what works best for you. One point that I'll give you is a lot of times these media partners, especially radio, want to be the exclusive media partner. I don't like that, personally. Sometimes you have to, if there's only 2 or 3 stations and you really want to get an impact. I like to be able to spread my message over multiple mediums, over multiple stations, and I don't want to be restricted to where they get 100% of the buy. That being said, if you are working with a media group, such as, we'll use Intercom as an example. Intercom has comedy, Intercom has Alice, Intercom has The Mountain, KQMT, and if you can work with that group and take advantage of all 3 of their formats, that will help your branding. So I would and have done that before. You get your commercials, interviews. This is the whole different ballgame. This is morning, they could be live morning interviews. Remotes. Remotes, I like remotes for events. To me, remotes really don't draw a whole lot of people in, what remotes do is gives you an opportunity to expand your brand and also show the public you're having fun. And I'll use an example. There is a personality, Denise Plant. I don't know if anybody knows who Denise Plant is. She used to be on Colorado and Company. She is on the Bull. I used to work with her years ago. Great lady. What she does when she comes to an event for a remote, she doesn't stay in her booth. You know how everybody comes in and just, hi, register to win, I'm here, it's just me. She is out and about. And this is something that you also have to talk to with your radio people or your reps, as well as the personality when they get there. But what she does is she'll go out and she'll do a live Facebook posting. So she will go on. 2 years ago, she literally went on a ride, and we sat there and did a Facebook Live while she's on this ride talking about all the fun things going on. Those are the types of things that really get people activated. Those are the types of things that really get people excited about what you're doing. You gotta do stuff like that. When it comes to getting out, using the web pages, using the event calendars, all of that, that's great. But if you can get those personalities who have a strong following to activate on your behalf, rock and roll. And I'll tell you what, a lot of them are starting to do that now because they want to get more Facebook ads. They want to get more people that are participating and listening to them and watching them. What I did here, and I just figured I would stick with the same venue, this was a Arapahoe County Fair. This is a radio program. What we did was, as you can see at the bottom, we bought a mix of commercials. The commercials themselves basically were 10 days out. As I mentioned earlier, 10 days out is basically what I do when it comes to hitting the commercials hard, getting them started. If we're doing a major promotion, if we're doing pre-sales or things like that, you can consider having a small media campaign to assist a pre-sale or something to that extent. But once again, it comes down to your budget. We do 10 days because then that way we can really pack it in, and that can get us out of that mix of those 10,000 ads that you see, because they'll hear it enough to be able to help you out. Once again, I talked about trying to tie in with a TV or radio station that's doing some sort of summer type promotion. This was staycation. Stay in your neighborhood, come play here locally. What we got here was we got a ton of promotional announcements. We were on 3 stations. As I mentioned, we weren't exclusive. We were able to use these 3 stations as well as we used the Bull. So we had 4 stations on this. We had promotional announcements, 108, so it's 36 per station. That's over the 10-day period. We had all of the commercials. They also put us online. We did on-air giveaways. That's how you expand your presence without having to spend a whole lot of money. Let them do the work for you. And I tell you, when we finished it all out, our total gross impressions off of just this 2-week campaign was almost 1.5 million gross impressions. Those are things to look at. These are eyeballs. That's the important thing. How can you expand your presence? How can you expand your marketing without having to really pay for it? Find out what those stations are doing. Find out what your newspaper is doing. Are they doing those types of things? Can you get in it? Do you buy a small little ad and can you get into their flyer or into their insert? You have to ask the questions because a lot of times they're not going to tell you. It's your responsibility to do that. And it's really easy to ask questions. Let's talk a little bit about print. We all know what print is: newspaper, magazines, posters, flyers, because it's all something that's right here. That's print, even though you probably can't read that. I can't either, so that's why they're there. But those are things that you need to consider too. You're going to have banners. You're going to have, do you do billboards? Billboards are I think, a secondary. But go in and talk to your newspaper. Talk to your local newspaper. Talk to, here it would be like the Sentinel. You've got the Post. You've got all of these others. Go to your neighborhood newspapers and talk with them. Find out if they want to participate. Find out also when it comes to magazines and newspapers that are really specific to your audience. If you're going to be an event that is, let's say, a county fair, there are newspapers out in some of the smaller communities within your county that you could get into that would really want to participate. offer them banners at your event. And a lot of times they'll double or triple what it is that you pay for your ads. Same with magazines, same, all of those types of things. Talk to them. That's a partner. And on your website, you're going to, whether you want to have logo soup or not, you could also have a separate entity which called sponsors, and that could be the page. So those are set aside. What I did with one of my accounts was we did a heavy print campaign. But I just realized before I get to that, let's talk about this register to win. I mentioned this a little earlier about a register to win. That's a way for you to get a database. If you don't have a database, this is a very inexpensive way for you to be able to get into the community, brand who you are, as well as really get sponsors or even retailers or restaurants or whatever really into who you are and what you're doing. So a register to win is fairly easy. You come up with a nice prize. So what's a nice prize? That's a good question. It depends on your event. It could be a $500 piece of jewelry. It could be something that they can't buy. For instance, if you're an event and you have a concert, it could include 4 tickets. It could include 4 food for them. It could also include front row seats. It could also include a meet and greet. The beauty about a register to win is you only need one prize, unless you want to add a first, second, and third. So there might be an expense for the prize, there might not, if you can negotiate that in with your talent that's coming in and so on. And then what you do is have your volunteers or your salespeople or your board members or whatever go out to the community with register to win boxes and ask them to participate. Some of the people will, some of the people won't, but that's okay. Then you ask them, can I put a flyer in your window? What you've got now is you've basically an open door. We want to support you by offering this register to win for your customers, because now it's more than, hey, I'm just going to come in here and have breakfast. I could win a chance to meet Waylon Jennings. I threw that out. I couldn't think of anything else. But that's something that the restaurateur or the retailer can talk about. That's cool. So take advantage of something like that. And that's grassroots and that's inexpensive. Anybody can do it. Yes?
I was just going to mention, I actually work for a newspaper organization, and it's really smart to actually go in assuming that the newspaper organization has other assets besides print. Because our company, we have digital, we have print, we have magazines, we have trade with radio, so we can blend that into different marketing packages. So don't just assume that print is print and radio is radio and TV is TV, because there are other tools that they have at their fingertips that you can take advantage of as well. So
Thanks for bringing that up. I hope you heard that. Newspaper have other tools such as digital. They do have relationships with other media outlets, and you're absolutely correct. And actually, we're going to talk a little bit about that. Not to the depth that you brought up, but yes, you have opportunities on all of these when it comes to being able to expand your brand and take advantage of what their assets are. Everybody has opportunity. All you have to do is ask. If you ask your rep, what else do you have? Let them talk. They know it better than you do. And this can give you a good idea of being able to expand your presence in all the medias that you're working with. So thank you for bringing that up. So let's talk about a heavy print program that we did. And this basically talks a little bit about what was just brought up. What this was an art festival. And our goal for this one, we do have the general media. For instance, we have TV, we do have radio, but I highlighted basically the print ads. Now, if you look at that, we were at 5280, we were at Applause, Sentinel, some of the high end, as well as some of the local. But the goal here too, which goes back to what was just brought up, they had online calendars that they put us in. They had digital information that was going out that they included us in. They had spotlights that they included them in. So you have multiple assets that you can take advantage of with basically all the media platforms. This was a very successful program. We used Facebook. And we had rack cards and a lot of additional things going out, flyers and so on. But this program did a very good job. Print was a strong factor to this. And that was 5280 who we'd worked with a lot. Front Porch is like a secondary supplement that they work with. Applause is DCPA, Denver Center for Performing Arts. Social media. This is a key element for your marketing. What I have here is I wanted you to see basically what of these 7 elements, what they're used for. For instance, you look at Facebook. Facebook, you build relationships with Facebook. And what's interesting too is one of the fastest growing demographic at Facebook are the older people, like me, mainly because they want to stay in touch with their kids. So they want to find out, they're getting back in touch with friends or schoolmates that they hadn't seen forever. And it's really taking off, but it gives you an opportunity to build a relationship. You look at Twitter. Twitter is limited when it comes to the number of words that you can use or characters. They've just expanded it from the 140. It's up to, I think, 210. Does anyone know exactly what it is? Okay. Then this tells you what you do with a Pinterest, with a YouTube, with a, with LinkedIn and so on. The 3 elements that I really look at when it comes to social at this time would be Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Those are the 3 elements we're going to talk about. So on Facebook, you have quite a few opportunities. Anytime you post something on Facebook, ask people to share. If you have volunteers, if you have board members, if you have organizations, if you have anything, ask them to share it. That's how you're able to really assist in the growth. 5 minutes? Oh, wow. I talked a lot faster than I did. Okay, there you go. There's Facebook. You can communicate, you can do commercials, but you also have to know what the expectations are, and you also have to be able to stay within the realm of the regulations. Twitter, a lot of people don't know what a hashtag is. It's a symbol to group-related subjects. So you see hashtag Broncos here. That way, if you click on that, that'll go to basically something that's talking about Broncos. YouTube gives you an opportunity to really show the experiential aspect of your event. And it's a way to learn how to do things. And if you don't know how to put anything on YouTube, just go to YouTube. It'll show you how to do it. So that's the beauty of YouTube. Email database. We talked a little bit about creating a database. What I have here is it's the best day, supposedly the best day to send is on a Thursday. The best time to send actually is 8:30 in the morning, or between 8 and 9. When it comes to the frequency, 2 to 5 times. Performance, if you are looking at performance, which is click-through rates, open rates, and so on, you have a performance scale right here for you to consider. The whole thing on getting performance is you need to have content that fits your consumer. It has to be relevant, it has to create curiosity, and it really can help you expand your word. Community outreach, we talked a little bit about that. Hit the organizations, hit your counties, hit your PTOs, go to churches, hit your Main Street, hit your chambers, hit the electrical company. See if you can get information put in their bills. Talk to them also about being a sponsor. And then that way you have an opportunity of them being able to tie more people into what it is that they're selling. Any of your sponsors, if they do billing, see if they'll put something out there for you. If you have a pizza company, put it on the pizza boxes. You've got opportunities to do it that way, and it's fairly inexpensive. If they're a sponsor, take advantage of it, but reach out to these people. Your FFAs, your 4-H's, so on and so forth, they're already tied into it, but ask them to help bring more people in. Offer them an opportunity, offer them a pre-sale, offer them a bundling prior to everybody else to where they get a special pricing. That's how you can bring some of your community organizations in too. So, okay, I'm tied to the 4-H for 2 weeks. Beginning now, we will be able to offer you a $5 discount on a $15 ticket. As many as you want. That'll give you an idea of also sales will be going on. Okay. Monitor your marketing. We talked about the pandemic. Time is changing. You don't know what's going to be happening. Monitor it. If the message changes in the community, change your message. Check the results at the end of the event to make sure that you grew, make sure that you made the money that you were hoping for, and figure out what you can and can't do next year or won't do next year. And then the bottom line, I just want to thank you very much for having me. I appreciate the opportunity. If you have any questions or needs, don't hesitate to give me a call. Also, we will be able to, you can email me if you would like a copy of this presentation. My name is Mark McGoffin. I'm with McGoffin Marketing, and I wish you all the best because events are the lifeblood. I love events, and I know we all do. Thanks a lot, and you guys have a great one.